Hello and welcome to episode 141 of the Brass Junkies. I am your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by my podcast host, my business partner, my guru, my
podcast host. I like that one the best.
Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. I mean, just so good.
This is the first episode that we are recording after the Brass Junkies Academy Summer Workshop happened, which was an amazing week.
Really good. I wasn't surprised that all of the sessions were great because we picked great artists, but I was surprised that we didn't have more problems along the way. I mean, just like technical weird stuff or people mad because something. So it was fun. It was a little tiring, but very fun.
Yeah, we had there was almost no trouble, and we had some great people working behind the scenes, and we had great guests who were super prepared, but it was really tiring because we were doing 4 hours a day for 5 straight days, but I wasn't even that tired afterwards because it was so rewarding. It was like it was awesome. So well, we have a little bit of an announcement to make, which is that we are announcing a bonus day, which anyone who has already purchased the summer workshop is going to just automatically get access to this. And anybody who wants to purchase it now, the entire thing, all 20 hours, is available through Thinkific, which is very, very easy. You just get a login, and then you can access the whole thing online through September 1st. So even if you miss the entire thing, you can watch all 20 hours of it through September 1st. But on July 21st, we are actually having a bonus day, which is it's July 21st was already going to be a day. I mean, we can't really take credit for adding in 2020. If we could take credit for taking a day away, right? That would probably
or a month, a season,
and that would be better. So yeah, I don't want us to be on the hook for an extra day of 2020. We'll probably get some very angry emails. But on Tuesday, July 21st, we're having just an extra bonus day that we're considering a part of the summer workshop, and we are having 2 more sessions and then another hang. The 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we are having Rex Richardson, one of the best and busiest trumpet soloists in the world, and
thank you, Katz.
And then
what you say about me. I'd like to thank you.
And then at 6:30, we are having our old friend Chris Castellanos from Boston Brass is going to give a presentation for us. And then, it'd be fun since he's an old friend, Lance. Let's tell him what he's going to talk about, and then let's get him on the air and then tell him to talk about something completely different, something that we know he doesn't know a lot about. I think that's probably going to be the plan. No, actually, these sessions, unlike the podcast, the sessions have been pretty serious, actually. Not serious like library serious, but we're keeping them very. All of these guests have so much information to share. So
more content heavy.
Yes, there wasn't the usual hijinks. There wasn't all the stories that we usually share. So, and then at 8, there's going to be a hang, which we did a hang every day during the week of the session, which was awesome. We were joined by a large number of people. It was incredible. So again, July 21st, if you have already signed up, then you're just going to get access to that. And everybody still has access through September 1st. But also, for those of you who did not catch the 20 hours live, we have a super special price since most of it is in the rearview mirror. $59, which is $50 off. $59 is the price right now for all of this. So you're going to get trumpets, Taga Larson of the Chicago Symphony, Mary Bowden of Seraph Brass, and a whole bunch of other places. Jose Sabaja of Boston Brass. Horn is Jen Montone, principal horn of the Philadelphia Orchestra. Jeff Scott of Amani Winds and about to start at Oberlin Conservatory. J.D. Shaw, former horn of Boston Brass and now teaches at South Carolina. Trombone, Joe Alessi, who actually I'm going to be hanging out with in a few days. It looks like socially distanced in his backyard as I drive by. He doesn't know yet that I am bringing my dog with me, so don't tell him. And then John Lofton, who's of course the bass trombone of the LA Phil, and Donna Parks of the Louisville Orchestra. And then Euphonium is Demondre Thurman, Gail Robertson, and Hiram Diaz. And then Tuba's Carol Yonch, Patrick Sheridan, and Richard White. So $59. You also get Rick Richardson and Chris Castellanos and another hang live on July 21st. So you can head to brassjunkies.academy or brassjunkiesacademy.com if you just enjoy typing more letters. That will work as well. And you can instantly get access to all 20 hours that have already happened, and then you're going to be able to watch those other 3 live. So, yeah, really good time. So just a quick thank you to everybody who is a Patreon patron. You guys are the best. We're keep plugging away on all that bonus stuff. And the John Lofton bonus episode, which was the last one before the session, was really good. And, yeah, thank you to all of you who have gone to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies for that. And so this episode, we decided, what did we decide about this episode, Lance?
I think what we decided, Andrew, is that what we're going to do is play a series of clips from 7 of the interviews, just to give you some idea of what happened if you weren't able to be there. These are some highlights from just sort of a cross-section of the week. And then Andrew and I are going to riff on the ideas that they put forth there. Because as Andrew said, we really tried to let those hours be focused on extracting as much information as we could out of the artists' brains. We tried to keep our commentary to a minimum. This is an opportunity for us to riff on these ideas a little bit more.
Yeah. And we were because of the terrible situation in the world right now, we came up with our dream team of 15 people, and we asked them, and all 15 of them said, not only am I interested, but I'm available, which was great for us, but was unfortunate just because these people generally would have to have scheduled this like 2 years out if we had wanted to just dictate that all 15 of these people were going to be free this week. But we could have pulled quotes from anybody. I mean, it was awesome. So it's amazing how when you hire really, really ridiculously smart people and articulate people, it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to be an amazing experience. So note that if you ever host anything. So, all right, up first is Donna Parks.
Back to being very honest about why we do what we do. And for me, the answer is because it's fun. It's that simple. It happens to be what I do for my career. It happens to be how I earn my money. But the fundamental for me is because it is fun and because I enjoy creating. I enjoy that feeling of just picking up my trombone and making a sound. So I think for all of us, it's a chance to get back to that, to really assess and think about the reasons you want to do this. And I think it's a great chance to kind of discover that for yourself. And everyone's reasons are different, but I think that's a really important thing to get back in touch with, because I think that's incredibly helpful for you then moving forward, for making decisions about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it as a musician at any level. If you don't have a sense of why, your path is going to be much more challenging. I
really love that quote from Donna where she talks about getting honest with yourself and about the why. That was really had my head spinning.
Well, it's the basis for everything, and I think a lot of times people go into a practice room out of habit, or they just show up to the gig out of habit, or your class or your whatever it is, and it's just sort of an automatic thing. It isn't. You've lost touch sometimes with the whole reason you were excited in the first place. And if you don't know why you're doing a thing, then it's going to be much harder to motivate yourself to spend the time necessary to develop the skills necessary to execute the music that is on your stand.
Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, he has this whole very famous thing talking about the why, and he gave, I believe the original one was from a TED Talk, and there's like an excerpt from his TED Talk, which is only 5 minutes long, talking about finding your why and about how that has to drive everything you do. And well, as Pat Sheridan talked about in his session, where if you don't love repetition, then don't become a professional musician. Which I'm summarizing what he said, but that was one of the points he made. But yeah, that repetition is going to be agony if you don't have a why behind it, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I just watched that the Michael Jordan the Last Dance. I don't know if you watched that documentary about that Bulls season. And I mean, how hard that guy worked was just, I mean, not that this is new news, but it was incredible. But his why was he just had like this insatiable like need to be the best in the world at what he did. And so his trainer was on and talked about how when he would tell Michael how many reps that he needed to do, he said that, and he used the word always, and it didn't seem like he seemed like he was using it literally, that when he would tell Michael, I need 6 reps, that Michael always did 10 or 12. That he just like never did less than that. And that to me, if I did that for 1 week and I didn't have my why set, that sounds like absolute just agony to me. Like that's just awful. But if the why is there, then, and whatever that looks like, by the way, I don't want to make it sound like I think that if you get your why in line, that all of a sudden it means you're going to want to practice 6 hours a day. That's not it. But she had me thinking about like reevaluating my priorities and also reaffirming, right? Reevaluate doesn't mean to change your mind necessarily, but that was a very reaffirming conversation that we had with her for me.
I think so too. Well, I mean, the other thing to bear in mind is that your why will change. The why of how you got started on the instrument is potentially a different why than why you stay with it, say from middle school into high school, and potentially a different why with every step of the way. So there's the why will evolve at the macro level, and then every day you have to remind yourself the why of this individual session. So I'm doing this because I believe that I want to have a career in music, and I'm doing this because my lip slurs suck and I need to work on it. But just having that crystal clear in your head, both at the macro and micro level, then I think allows you to just at least understand why you're there. It might not make it any more fun, but at least you kind of understand it.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, and I like that you corrected yourself. Like your why said will change, right? And by will change, he does not mean that it will do a complete 360, which is not what people mean when they say that. That it will not do a complete 180, right? I mean, it might. He's not saying that it will. Sometimes it's just a little course correction. Sometimes it's a hard left. Sometimes it's a walk right out of the room that you were positive was the right room. And it also doesn't mean that it wasn't the right room at that time, right? That's the other thing, is that just life changes, you change, the world changes. My goodness, we're living in the middle of that right now. So yeah, the conversation really charged me up. Like, yeah, really.
That was one of my favorites of the week. This was just the tip of the iceberg with all of the stuff she talked about, especially in terms of reaching out to, we're not going to go down this road too far, but reaching into your communities and providing value to your communities as an artist. I think there was so much wonderful stuff in her interview to unpack.
Agreed. All right. Next up is JD Shaw.
Sometimes we do warm-ups in a prophylactic manner where we do it because we're supposed to, rather than a prescriptive manner of I do this because I need it. I take this pill to accomplish this thing. So I think if we can get much more in tune with our body and what we're about to do, and then also in our warm-up, what are we about to play? If I am about to play Mahler 9, then you darn sure I'm gonna really work my flexibility and my upper volumes. But if I'm going to play in a woodwind quintet, I'm going to work my soft touch. I'm going to work just really soft attacks. I'm going to work on my tone, leaning it out so it's not so so it's not big. It's more of a lean, elegant type sound. So think about what you have to accomplish that day and tailor that particular warm up, that particular routine to what you're about to accomplish.
All right. So JD gets us into the meat of things. So it's about, one of the reasons that we want to have JD on is he has this great way of describing his daily routine, his regular practice session, and he calls it testing against the template. And what informs that is that he knows what the challenge is that he has to do over the course of a day or a week or whatever performance he's gearing up for. And so then that, just as Donna's explanation got you into the practice room, then JD's thoughts, I think, really help you not just have your warm-up be rote and just this thing, I always do this, and this is the thing that I do next, and now I'm going to do this thing, and you can sort of set a timer to it, and you could sit and watch Judge Judy while you were doing it. Instead, it's figuring out what are the things that I need to do, where is my body now, and what do I need to do to get it ready.
Yeah, I love his whole checking the templates thing, where he also talks about tailoring it to what you have to play that day. We both saw him do this over and over again with Boston Brass, where depending on what we had played the day before, what we had to play that day, I know that sometimes it was really cool to hear him unpack this and kind of talk about it at length, because we had certainly heard him talk about it in master classes, but usually that was within the context of like the five of us there, like, you know, it was more of a quick thing, and to hear him go at length was cool. But just he would just mix in different things through, you know, to keep on covering things. But it's all very practical, which for me helps me to not just do it. You know, he talks about warming up with a purpose and not just being rote, as you said. And that to me can help. You combine that with the why, and then suddenly it's an active process and not a passive process, not just okay, I need to play the first page of the Arbenz book, which is really important, but like there's a reason that you're doing it, and there's a goal there. And yeah, this also was really good for me to hear.
Well, it's, you know, Stephen Covey talks about in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, starting with the end in mind. And so you have to know, what is the end product. What does that sound like? You need to internalize that, and then back up from there and compare where you compare your current state and your progress along the way towards that end. Or if you want to use the Arnold Jacobs horn in the head versus the horn in your hands, where you know what you're going for, and then you just have to be honest with yourself enough to plot a course to getting there. And it might change over the course of today, and it might change tomorrow, but you just sort of have to stay present.
That leads perfectly to this quote from Mary Bowden.
Well, now's the time, because we're not performing in person, and you can schedule your practicing whenever you want. You can really develop those skills that maybe you feel are lacking. So the first place to start is to make a list of things that you feel that you're really great at right now versus things that really, really need improvements. And I think it's really important to be honest with yourself and dig deep. And it's not fun to really call out your weaknesses, but we all have them. And that's the joy of being a musician, is that there's always constant improvement every day.
Exactly what Lance just said, that we have to make a list of the things that we're great at and the things that we're not great at. And JD, with the checking of the templates, was doing that in a very short-term window, meaning, okay, I have to play fill in the blank on the horn in 20 minutes or in an hour, or I'm working on this, and this is what's working today, and this isn't what is working. Or Mary talking on more of a macro level, which is just like, these are the things that I do well on the trumpet. These are the things I don't do as well on the trumpet. And then, as you just said, plotting a course and making when you have the long-term course plotted, then it's a lot easier to figure out what direction you have to take a step in, right? When you know how far you have to go and you know how long you have to get there, sometimes it's open-ended, sometimes it's, I have to perform this this solo on a recital in 6 weeks. It all educates where you need to be. And I love the fact that Mary talked about how now is a great time to get organized about your practicing, that we've kind of been given this opportunity, which is awful and brutal. And but the silver lining part of it is that we've been given this opportunity to, none of us are doing as much. Some are doing none of the short-term preparation, right? I don't know anybody. There are some people who are still doing some online performances of recitals, but nobody is playing as many programs as they would have been if we weren't in the middle of a global pandemic. So everyone has more time. Doesn't mean everyone has lots of time, but everyone has more time than otherwise to get organized. And I thought it was kind of a very a productive and lovingly put call to action by her for all of us.
Well, it's, we are in routine and habit, and those are hard to establish. And once they are established, they're hard to disrupt. Once you're used to doing, you have your commute, and you're used to having this set of classes in this order, and that you're used to whatever your patterns are. Well, this thing we're experiencing now has disrupted everyone's patterns. And there's, as Andrew said, this is the tragic part. And then the dust settles and you realize, okay, well, now what? And so the now what is that you have the opportunity to become more self-aware and more organized and intentional about the routine that will get you to where you want to go. So if you've taken Donna's advice and JD's advice, then Mary's is the next logical place to go. Okay, now let me look at it again at a macro level. Where am I going? And now I can organize my entire day and week around these goals.
Yeah, really good stuff. I want to take just a moment to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model Tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model Euphonium mouthpiece. Find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Michael Parker joined us for one of the daily hangs, which was awesome. Who else? That was the one that Mike Nickens was also on, and Kevin Gibo, was he that day? No, that was a different day. There were so many people.
JD. Yeah,
that was with JD. There were so many people that joined us.
Was on there? It was Nickens and Michael Parker, and was there another tuba player?
I don't know. It was somebody. It's all blending together. It was great. We got to hear him talk about mouthpieces, and very, very interesting about how he got started, and and then because he's a dear friend, we made fun of him. So
it was Tom Holtz.
Of course, it was Tom Holtz. Yes, it was. So Patreon patron, former President's Own Marine Band tuba player Tom Holtz. That? Yeah. So, moving right along, we got 4 more quotes from you. This one is from the Chicago Symphony's Taga Larson.
I think when you first start taking auditions, when you first start the process, you think that there's like a miracle, or maybe that day you'll just get lucky, or you just happen to be uber talented, or you're not, or you just don't have it. But you eventually realize that there's a process.
Well, this is this kind of, it was a short clip, because he said it all. Like, that's kind of, if you're waiting to get lucky. The whole notion, Andrew and I are huge Seth Godin fans, and he talks about waiting to get picked. So if you decide that this is the route that you want to get, and you want to get selected, you want to pass the audition, you have to understand that it is a process to getting there. And if you're just waiting for, boy, I hope I have a good day, well, then you should go find something else to go do. And I really, in the longer, I hope that you sign up selfishly so that you can hear his awesome explanation of the light switch moment in his head when he got to witness an audition and see it from the sidelines, and how it changed his realization of what was involved to get to the next level.
Yes.
And that it was, in fact, a process. It wasn't just this arbitrary, I hope I have a good day thing.
Yeah, there's just too many players who have figured out that auditions are a process, and who then, you will hear some of them say it was just my day, but I've never heard anybody who admitted after the fact that, that they were kind of prepared, and then it just happened to be their day, and then they happened to beat 100 other people who were prepared and who it just didn't happen to be their day. It's like, you need to be as prepared as anybody is, and then also have it be your day. Mm-hmm. So, and you also hear stories from people, and I've heard stories from people who I know really well and know that they're being honest, because this makes them sound good. So you gotta, the warning flag has to go up. But people who say that they did not play their best and that they still won. And those people are the only people I've heard say that are some of the best players in the world. And they do talk about how prepared they were. right? I mean, they talk about how prepared they were, and it was like that their best that day was good enough because their best was just so unbelievably great. I thank you for pointing out that I had forgotten that he got to, was it the New York Phil, I think, that he got to sit in on a trumpet audition, and he heard that everybody on that stage, I'm paraphrasing here, but that everybody was a more consistent player than he was. That he just heard candidate after candidate after candidate who was just like not missing. And then he said, oh, and then he realized that he had a lot of work to do, and he then figured out he did the work to get there. And he's one of the most consistent brass players that I've ever had the privilege of playing with in my life. I mean, and everything looks so easy when he's playing. It just looks, it's funny. When I say this, I like to point out that he looks so natural. Now, what that means is that he has a simple process. It does not mean that when he was handed a trumpet when he was a child, that the tone that we now know of as Tage Larsson's tone just came out of his trumpet and that he was just born with it. And boy, I wish I had been. Like, no. He's worked his tail off. But so when I say it looks natural, just the process looks like it's very simple. So, it's like a beautiful golf swing or a baseball swing, right? It's like it just looks natural. Like there's a 99.9% chance that person has worked their butt off to make it look that way, but it just looks very free-flowing, and, he's super consistent.
Well, and to put a fine point on it, the only part of the audition process that you can control is your preparation.
Ding.
That's it. That's the beginning and the end of the list.
Yep.
If you don't, it's like you can be mad at, oh, they screwed me over, or this was not fair, and maybe.
It's not like that doesn't happen, but All right, that one dovetails very nicely with this quote from Jen Montone, the principal horn of the Philadelphia Orchestra.
Level, you've got to figure out the game of taking an audition, namely being consistent enough every single time and being able to have enough control over your mind, that you have control over your body to be able to just do close to your actual best in that 5 minutes of fame.
Again, she is talking about consistency in auditions, and I love, she said the same thing as Tage, but they said them different ways. But when she's talking about that you have to get the control over your mind so that you can have the control over your body so you can do the closest that you possibly can to your best. That's like when she said that, it was kind of like it would have been more polite if she had stopped talking for 30 seconds so that I could kind of process how profound that was. And she really just kept right on talking. Because that's it, right? I mean, you do all that preparation, but then there's like this whole mental side to auditions where you have to control your mind so that you can control your body, so that you can get as close as possible to the ceiling, which is the only thing that you can affect is your ceiling heading into an audition, right? Which you just said. So these two things together, these two sessions, if you're taking auditions, yikes, this is it. I mean, it's everything. They can't do the work for you, but the approach, they laid it out.
Well, and it's acknowledgement, to back up, we were talking about the only thing you control is your preparation, and your preparation involves not just the notes and not just the rhythms and not just the phrasing, but every aspect of your physical playing in terms of the chops that you need, but then also the musical chops, so how you're going to express, so how you're going to communicate with your instrument. And then you also need to prepare in terms of you're going to be in a stressful situation, and that has two components. One is a physiological and the other is a mental. And how do all of those things work together in tandem for you to have a consistently successful experience?
That is well said.
Hey,
you know what
thanks.
else is going to be well said, Lance?
I hope it's about the Mary Papert School of Music at Duquesne University. Is it?
It's almost like we planned this.
Don't say it. So the fine folks at the Mary Papert School of Music at Duquesne University in beautiful and sunny Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, are a long-term sponsor of the Brass Junkies, and we are very grateful to them for being so.
Yep.
They have created a link, which will... they've created a page, and they provided me a link, which I've put in the show notes. And if you click on said link...
It'd be funny if they only made a link.
It's just a link. Here it is.
All the information you need is in the URL. You just have to decode it.
the URL is like a paragraph long. So it'll show you all the ensembles that you can be a part of whenever ensembles are a thing again. It can show you who you will study with in terms of just a great killer lineup of
Yes.
folks, most from the Pittsburgh Symphony. And it's a really cool place, and we are very grateful to them for making this possible. And super special thanks to Jim Toe Stubber Nova for making it possible. I don't know why.
I don't either. It was Jim joined us on one of the hangs.
He did. That's true.
Yep, which was a lot of fun. So
Yep.
it's always more fun to make fun of Jim to his face than it is to. If you want, any of you, if you want to just send us an email, inquire about becoming a sponsor, and we'll make fun of you to thousands and thousands of people, regularly. Yeah, that's So you support the show to the point where you're going to give us money regularly to talk about something. Well, then we're going to abuse you, because why would we not punish that behavior? So moving right along, here is a quote from, we got two more left here. Here's a quote from someone who is so good at the euphonium that as a fellow brass player, I find it a little off-putting. His name is Demondre Thurman.
I certainly get nervous from time to time. It's a lot of times it's excitement. Most of the time it's excitement, just sort of anticipating the event. But I feel like preparation is the key to unlocking your ability to play through your nerves. I trust my preparation so much. And so that keeps me from freaking out or anything like that when I'm playing as a soloist, whether with piano.
Okay, so we were there. We were just talking about, it's almost like we put these in a specific order, Andrew, that would lead you down a path to discovery. And
hold on. I want to, for the record, we were going through, we pulled the clips. Well, Will Houchin, our third partner / owner here at Pedal Out Media, he pulled the clips, and then we were figuring out what they were for. And as I was writing notes about each one when we listened to them, I said we should put these in an order. And then Lance spit out a really, really insightful and helpful order, which I'm never prepared for him to be that helpful. He's usually he's helpful, but he's not that helpful. And I was unable to mask my surprise, in my voice or my words. So anyway, Lance, please continue with your talented insights.
Well, any old house. So you've figured out your why, and you have done the warm-up that fits what you need to be doing, and you have analyzed your preparation so that you're working on all the aspects of what you're doing. And now it's time to deliver, to stand and deliver, or to sit and deliver, depending on the case. And if you understand...
My sit and deliver fee is less than my stand and deliver fee, because I'm almost 45. It's just kind of I'll stand, but you're probably not going to want the invoice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and so... Demondre said it right there. You have to just trust your preparation. You just have to have faith that you did the thing. This is when the rubber meets the road, and you're waiting to go on is the wrong time to go. Gosh, I wonder if I spent enough time on X. You want to go out there knowing that the Michael Jordan prescription was 6 times and that you did 12.
Right.
You've gone through it so much that you just can't wait to get out on stage and show the audience or the panel what it is that you do. And I also liked he did a really good job, I thought, of differentiating between nerves as a negative thing and excitement as a way to, it's just a natural part of performing, I think.
Yes. Yeah. So well put. And also, when he or anyone talks about trusting your preparation, by no means is he saying that if you prepare as much as Demondre does, that he always has a great concert, right? Now, Demondre's ceiling, not just as a euphonium operator, but as an artist, is so high because he has and continues to work just so unbelievably hard at his craft, that when he has what he would grade himself a 72 out of 100 on the test, is still going to be really impressive, a euphonium operator-wise and artistically. But that doesn't mean that it isn't that everything is an 85 or a higher, or 95 and higher, and that he doesn't occasionally have a day where it probably there's other when you play a horn at that level, sometimes it sounds great, and you also just it feels like you have to work twice as hard as you would if you were quote unquote having a great day. But there's something to be said, as Lance just said. There's like that pit in your stomach that is either like I didn't do everything I could to be prepared, or I did do everything I could to be prepared. And for me, that feeling when the bright lights go on, that feeling actually is binary. So much in life isn't. It's almost all gray area. But as kind of a side note, the only thing I was not going to be okay with if I didn't quote unquote make it in music as a professional tuba player was going to be sitting in a rocking chair at my family's summer house when I was 75, having done something else for a living, which there's no shame in at all. I'm only talking about my journey here. Like I realized this when I was 20, and that in the pit of my stomach, I knew that I didn't do everything I possibly could to make that happen. Like if I knew in my stomach that I did everything I could, some people have like a week after graduating from college, and then they have to, for real life reasons, go down a path where they have to be making money to take care of sick people. So I'm not saying that if you give up before 30, then like not at all. Everyone is unique in their, but that was the one thing I knew I couldn't have that pit in my stomach that says I didn't make it as a player and I could have done more. And it's the same thing with a recital, right? Like I'm not entitled to it going great or an audition or whatever, but if I'm prepared, then I can just kind of enjoy myself in the moment because I know that I've done all the work and I can just kind of let the chips fall wherever they may. Last quote here is from one of my heroes, tuba player Richard White.
I think it's hard to stay positive, but you have to learn to give yourself a hug. You have to learn to pat yourself on the back, and you have to learn to be disappointed because it's not the end. All of these are elements. We seem to think that life and our goals are supposed to be perfect. They aren't supposed to be perfect. I'm sure all of us have a perfect cup, a perfect dish that is ding, that we drop, but that's the go-to bowl, right? So regardless of what happens to me, good or bad, my go-to bowl is me. I got me, I believe in me, I trust me, so I'm a go-to me. And you have to learn to do that, and that's pretty much how I stay motivated.
So my predecessor in Boston Brass on the tuba, Randy Montgomery, his grandfather allegedly had a statement where he used to say, if that don't light your fire, your wood's wet. So every time that I hear Richard White speak I'm talking like even if I talk to him for 2 minutes, because we're just talking about like scheduling the appearance that he's having on the summer workshop, I feel like my wood could be completely saturated and it would still light on fire. I mean, the guy just has this energy that's genuine. It's not, if someone had his positivity and his energy and his message and it was at all forced, then, and I wouldn't be saying this because I would just keep it to myself, but he would be one of my least favorite people in the world, because when that's forced, it's just kind of like it's manufactured. It's like, he's just an amazing human who has this amazing ability to make people like me like figure out really quickly what's important in life and then go focus on that. This is another one that I just left. I was ready to run through a brick wall after we talked to him for an hour.
Yeah, there's not that many people in life that exude that kind of presence. And, I know one of your mentors and mine is a guy named Dr. Tim Lotzenheiser, and that's a guy that just always walks the walk. Yep. And is always just exuding the energy that he wants to see in the world. And, Richard, if you don't know his story, take a minute and go find out about it, because it's one of the more amazing stories that you'll ever hear. And the acknowledgement that bad things happen and that how you react to them is within your control is a gift that I hope to pass on to my kids. I hope to pass on to every student that I come in contact with. I just feel like that's one of the greatest gifts you can give someone, is the acknowledgement that failure is part of the process. and it's not, well, there's one time that it's fatal, but all of the rest of the times it's not. It's just a thing to learn from, and to trust yourself that you'll just adjust as necessary, because it could be the case that you checked off all those boxes and you were ready to rock and roll, and you went out there and you still didn't do it. Well, through no fault of your own, maybe, and maybe somebody outplayed you that day, and maybe it was rigged, maybe it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be the case. But how you react, it's stimulus and response. If you want to talk about it as a B.F. Skinner level, it's like I step on your foot, and then how you respond to that is within your control. And you can decide it was an accident, so you're going to cut me some slack, or that I did it on purpose, and then you still have an option of how you want to react to that. So it's an incredible life gift. I was taken with how much about life we talked about with these people, because it's a means to an end. All of what we're trying to do is communicate with others. And there's, like you said, it was so inspirational to hear him again share his story and his thoughts with us.
Yeah, just incredible. And it's also, his advice is so practical too. I mean, it's like he's talking about like big macro concepts, and yet, and this is the sign of a very gifted communicator and a gifted teacher. And again, I'm using terminology that I try not to use. Like Taga just looks so natural, and that Richard is a gifted communicator. Like, no, I think that he reeks of self-awareness, and that he has made himself that gifted of a communicator. So
Amen.
Gifted implies that he was born with it, and I wasn't there. Maybe he was quite articulate when he was young, but I want to be clear. I'm not just saying like, oh, if only I were as gifted at communicating as Richard White is. That's not what I'm saying. He's a brilliant teacher and a brilliant communicator, because he can talk about these great big, because I mean, let's be honest, his like message of like, you need to be resilient and you should try hard, that's not exactly original, like, intellectual property, right? I mean, it's like there's been a few people that predate him that have said those things, but it's the way that he communicates it, and the way that he makes it clear to me, even as a listener, right? Like not just a one-on-one like a coaching, but he makes it clear what my next action should be. Mm-hmm. That is a hell of a teacher and a communicator, when you're like inspiring direct action without saying like, hey, Lance, here's the thing, if I were you, that you should do tomorrow. It just makes it obvious, as if just as obvious as if he had given you a one-on-one, consulting hour, and that he told you exactly what to do. He's remarkable. So, yeah, we could have, to be clear, we could have pulled quotes. We didn't pull any quotes for this. I just kind of grabbed a list. We wanted to make sure at least one from each instrument. But Pat's was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Alessi's was amazing. Joe, in his, he was talking about warming up at the beginning, and he played a B flat major scale. It was one octave. It was mezzo forte. And he talked about how he likes to have students and himself like not breathe after the top, B flat, because it helps with the whatever. And someone, because we showed the first 10 minutes of the first session each day, and someone commented on Facebook, said, I just saw Joe Alessi play a B-flat major scale, and I'm all set for the day. It was at noon. So, yeah, if they were, I don't remember who it was an American. So it was anywhere between 9 a.m. and noon in the continental U.S. But it's like all of them were just so great. And I feel really, really spoiled that we get to be in the same orbit as all of these people, just that which is just through circumstance, right? That we just happen to be, that our careers are such that we have the info to begin with, and then that they are like, sure, that won't be too painful. Mm-hmm. I'll spend an hour with you.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, so one funny thing, and then a more poignant thing, I guess. But the funny thing was, when it goes back to what you were saying at the beginning, when everybody's free right now, and I asked one of the artists, hey, are you free on this day at this time? And they said yes, and not only that, I'm free on any day at any time until 2021.
Oh, yeah, that is kind of funny, and yeah.
But the other thing is that I just feel fortunate. I just feel very, very fortunate that we are in a position that these people would do this, and that so many people signed up, and it makes me it gives me hope that what we're doing is not just cracking jokes, and that we're actually putting hopefully some useful content out into the world. That's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to do it in a fun, lighthearted way, knuckleheaded as we are. But I just I left the week with just an immense amount of gratitude. So
Yeah,
thanks
really
to
good
everybody
stuff.
who helped be a part of it, and behind the scenes and on the scenes and watching it, and it was great, super fun.
Shout out to Will Houchin, as I already said, our third partner here at Pedal Note Media for all of his work, and also to Abby Lannon, who was the director of the whole thing, and she was what made it all go. The two of them were. Yeah, Lance and I did very little, so
we showed up. I knew I needed to be on the call 10 minutes before. I'm there, and I didn't. It was all just taken care of.
Yep, it was great. I just knew, we got to look amazing, and then we got to, ask, some good questions. So, and we did neither, and it was still a huge success. So, and it still worked. So,
despite our best efforts.
Reminder: July 21st, which is if you are listen to the episode the day that they come out kind of person, then that is going to be 2 weeks from today. Then that is going to be the bonus day, which is Rex Richardson at 5 p.m. Eastern, the trumpet player extraordinaire. 6:30 is Chris Castellanos, and then the 8 p.m. Daily Hang with friends of ours to be determined. And I also, that was the other thing that I really enjoyed, and this one is up on our Facebook page, the whole thing. But the final day was where we did a tribute to Ryan Anthony, who passed away in the middle of the academy, and we talked with Mary Bowden and with Jose Sabaha and with Rex Richardson and with Pat Sheridan and with Pete Meekin, the composer, and just shared stories and just kind of had a celebration of his life. But that entire thing, and that was a part of the Academy, which you'll get access to, but that whole thing we made, that's up on our Facebook page, so you can watch that whole hour right now if you just head to the Brass Junkies Facebook page is up there. But that was a really... it was really surreal when he passed away in the middle. I think it was the Tuesday. I think it was like the second full day, and it was like, things were going well, and I'm like, just trying to figure out like if we can improve any of the processes, and just very, very like just business goal oriented, and then I was making a cup of coffee afterwards and then opened Facebook, and there it was. And it was just like, a reminder that, and Ryan would be the first to tell you that losing someone like him does not mean that something like the Academy, that the workshop was not important, but it just brings it all into perspective really fast, like really fast. So that was really great. And also we announced this on that hang, but we can tell you here that we already talked about the Brass Legacy Project, that we've decided that we're going to actually do that as a series of live events rather than as a podcast. And so we're going to have a big proper Ryan Anthony one. We're still going to start with Sam Palafian, but we will do a proper Ryan Anthony one. And we're also going to do some of those with people who are still with us. I don't think we always do a good enough job of celebrating everybody to that extent when they are still around to hear about it, and the far-reaching impact. So it's going to be kind of a combination of the two. So I think that's going to do it. Is there anything else, Lance, that I'm not remembering? So go to brassjunkies.academy if you would like to sign up for this super reduced rate, $59. Through September 1st, and we're going to have some more announcements for more live events very, very, very soon. More Brass Junkies related ones, some entrepreneurial musician related ones, some music practice coach related ones, and some other brands as well. So keep an eye out for Pedal Note Media news, and that is going to do it for another episode of the Brass Junkies.
You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/PrayForJens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.